Hello, bandits. This is the Steam Nerd. I am here to bring you a very different kind of episode. I'm not going to be showing you any gameplay today. I'm actually going to be teaching you guys how to properly report a player. This match is just a match I played to get the end game screen. I did actually to get into Bronze 1 out of it, which is pretty nice. But I digress. The more important thing is how to report somebody properly, and also what toxicity is. So I wanted to talk first about toxicity before we get into exactly how to report somebody perfectly. First things first, when you play the game, it's really hard to be toxic. Pretty much the devs have put in a very, very unique thing to a lot of games. Unlike MOBAs, you can't really talk in the game. There's no communication form. So that level of toxicity during the match is just not there, which is really good. I could go into a whole different conversation about whether or not the teabagging and camping and tunneling are toxic behaviors. It's a whole different discussion to have, but I'm more talking about the toxic behaviors in the endgame and beginning game chats. Beginning game's not nearly as bad as endgame chat. Typically people are not angry about the match. They just hop in, you're random players, they don't know you, unless they really want to harp on your name for some weird reason. There's really not that much toxicity in prior to game chat. But the toxicity I'm talking about comes in the end game chat, and in the form of people saying things that may or may not be okay to say. Yesterday, we encountered a player who thought it was alright to tell the killer that they hope their mom dies of cancer. And for reference, I know someone whose mom's passed of cancer, and this is just a horrible thing to say to anyone, let alone a player you played against in a match who has no idea who you are, no idea what your problems are, and really didn't do much to you. Whether he camped or tunneled or whatever the hell you want to go with, doesn't justify saying that. And so I ended up reporting the player. Now, what I'll do is I'll show you exactly how to go about a report, and we're going to use me as an example. But you'll notice here, off to the side, when you hover over these, there's a thumbs up and thumbs down on every other player's thing. You can go and say that they're great. If you give them props, that's your main thing that you can do. It's helpful in securing objectives, Rockstar at rescuing, knowledgeable of the game, fun to play against. This Huntress was quite fun to play against, so I will absolutely submit that I'm giving them props. But say a player, we're going to use the player that can't be seen their name because there's no point. None of these players deserve to be reported. Say they harassed. This is the one that I'm talking about. For toxicity, this is typically where I go. Intentional griefing, gameplay abuse, trolling, all of that, you know, that's in of itself its own category. I don't encounter this all that often. Exploits, so if this player is straight up cheating or they're using constant exploits or errors in design bugs, yeah, this is where you go to use that one. And Unsportsmanlike, which is the report for losing the game, not participating from early game to avoid examples, AFK, rage quitting, idling, and refusing to participate. All of these are fine, but the one that I think behavior takes the most seriously is the harassment, communication, abuse. Because at the end of the day, this is a really, really big problem for game health when things like this happen. So say I wanted to report this player for what happened last night, which this is not the player from last night. I would write out exactly what happened, which is that the player told the killer that they hope their mom dies. Cancer. This still makes me sick, just it existing, and I've been disconnected from those, which is okay. Obviously, I'm not going to report this player for that, because they didn't do that. I've been disconnected because whoever owns the server, whatever, server needed to be moved on. Following that, you want to click here. This will allow you to view profiles. Now, in the particular case of this person right here, they're a console person, so I don't have a profile to go to. But that's fine. Their gamer tag can't be changed. But for the players on Steam, you'll want to go and click View Profile. This is very important. You'll go here, you'll view profile, and there'll be a link at the top of here. You're going to want to copy it. Girl Scout cookies did not do anything wrong. played pretty well. Unfortunately, got second state on hook 1, which is unfortunate, but when you're hooked in the basement, it's really hard to make sure people can get you. I didn't know when I could go. I ended up saving her off the hook, but she ended up dying later in the game. More importantly, you would copy that and you would continue. The other thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to your own. But before you leave here, take a screenshot of chat. I recommend clicking here so that it's easier to be seen. Just press F12 and you'll have chat saved on Steam. It's just how it is, right? So that is how you would go about the first part of reporting someone. The second part of reporting someone is to go over here into the Dead by Daylight website. You can go to your behavior account, and there is my account, but up here there'll be a support button. Click that support button, and it'll bring you to here. You can search for a bunch of different things, or you can submit a request. I submit a request. You can choose your particular issue: loss of progress, marketing request, console issues, disconnection penalty. Additional player report information is what you're looking for. Put in your email address. Mine is steamnerdttv@gmail. You put your subject like terrible, horrible things, telling horrible things to other players, which is what I did yesterday. I described the issue. So if it was what was yesterday, I'd say telling the killer they hope their mom dies of cancer, which is, again, a horrible thing to say to anybody. PC, Steam, Windows Store, whatever platform you're playing on. Mine is Steam. Reason for the report, well, harassment. Harassment's the easy one. Your ID64, which is an unchangeable, or the console gamer tag. So the console gamer tag that can change, it's a little harder to report, but console players can't actually talk in endgame chat, so this one kind of doesn't really apply to them. You put in yours, your player cloud ID, and then you'll put in the offender's ID. Now, in this particular case, I do have offender's ID, but what you'll want to do to get the ID, there's a little link right here that Steam has to steam.io. And this is where this comes into play. So if I wanted to go ahead and find this player's thing, what I would do is I'd click on their rank, go to view profile. I'd copy this link right at the top. It's actually in there, but let's copy this link right here. Yeah. And then you'll Alt-Tab, and you slap it in here, and you would look it up. It'll then have a bunch of things for you to go after, like the Steam 64 ID, and you can go after that and put that in as the offender's ID. I do actually have an offender's ID. I'm not going to report them again. I did do it yesterday. And then, did you create an in-game report? Yes or no? Typically, if you're doing this process, you probably did. So I selected yes. And then attachments, which are optional, but I highly recommend, is the images, the proof in the pudding. For me, I have a picture on my desktop of last night's game, of the horrible things that were said to this other human being, which I think is just horrible and atrocious and just evil and should never, ever, 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 ever get repeated. And I do hope that everything works out for the best. But if I can find what I'm looking for, which I can't seem to, then I could show you, but apparently I don't have it right now. But that is how you do a proper report of some player who is being incredibly toxic or saying actual death threats to people, which I think is disgusting. But this will help improve gameplay for everybody. So I wanted to spread that with everybody and let everybody know exactly how to do that. And so that everybody has the ability to help what's going on with Dead by Daylight and help Dead by Daylight reach its peak game health faster, because this game is a generally untoxic one in comparison to games like MOBAs, and a lot of games don't get to have the ability to be this untoxic. But if we don't take care of the game and we don't report players who are overly toxic, then our game health will slowly deteriorate, whether that be in gameplay for some people or in reality in endgame chats. So thank you guys so much for listening and watching, and hopefully this helps for the future. If you need to report somebody for toxicity or hacking or any of the other stuff that goes along with all of that, I hope this helps. Have a great day, guys, and thank you for tuning in.